my financed policy that I used other people's money to fund initially,
Right.
that I used the sale of a piece of real estate to pay the bank back, now becomes my new bank. If you're joining us today and it's the first time that you're seeing us here together in this room in these same suit jackets, then you've just jumped into the middle of a series. We're actually on video 4 of Premium Finance. We started off with a general overview of Premium Finance and what it is and who it's a fit for. We went on to explain the specifics of using Premium Finance for estate planning. And then in the last video, we just talked about Premium Finance for buy-sells. And we're slowly but surely getting sexier and sexier in terms of the topics. This particular video, we're going to talk about using Premium Finance with a real estate pairing. So Dan, this is by far going to be the sexiest video of all the ones that we do. And I think it's because a lot of people live in a world it's a binary world. We get so many people that come to us through this channel and they'll say, Matt, I'm deciding about either doing a life insurance policy or real estate. Now, you told me that there's a way to actually do both of those things.
Okay, so when you have multiple strategies available, real estate, buying life insurance, I mean, when you combine all these, usually you have a better result for the client versus like one strategy works best for everything. But the interesting thing, what I found with the real estate people I work with is they understand leveraging. So doing a finance policy, they understand this, right? I mean, so the risk of leveraging, I don't have to explain that.
They get it.
Understand risk, right? Yep. But what I understand with these guys is that they hate paying taxes, which is great. Remember, the life policies, if properly structured, are going to be a tax-efficient vehicle, tax-free vehicle. Yep. You have to be designed properly. That's super important. But I feel like with the concept of deferring taxes on real estate, which is, if people don't understand, that's called a 1031 exchange, which allows them to buy something of equal or greater value, but they have to do it in a certain time frame. Similar to like we talked about in earlier videos, that if someone passes away to cover their estate tax, they have only 9 months, right? I mean, so there's all these rules, 1031. If you can do it, it's great.
Yep.
But I feel like a lot of times that my real estate guys will kind of sell a property, not get the value they want for it because they got to get this done in a fast period of time, right? I mean, so they're getting it done to defer the tax. So I think that that's great, and over time that helps people develop a huge net worth because they're deferring the tax and everything. But at some point in time, we're going to be done with real estate.
Right. Depreciation runs out.
Yeah, depreciation. That's another great way to reduce their tax liability. But the point is that we have to start unwinding all these properties, right? And that can be really difficult.
And painful.
So all's I'm telling and explaining to a person that does real estate is, here's another way to maybe do a 1031 exchange, but it's not a 1031 exchange. And what I mean by that is that when I'm creating this policy, I'm borrowing the money from a third-party lender to pay the premiums for the insurance policy, right? Over time, that loan balance is going to grow. And in most circumstances, we're letting it grow long enough that the insurance policy in and of itself will pay the lender back. And then the client owns this policy outright, no strings attached, and they have this asset. Now, we can do even better because of the fact that if a person sells a property, now they have proceeds. Man, I don't know about you, but how many real estate guys do you know that when they sell a property say, you know what, I'm going to take this money and invest it in the stock market?
Not very many. None?
Very few, right?
I don't know that I've ever heard that.
No, so that's the thing. So they know real estate, so they know deals, they know how to do that kind of stuff. So if I can say, here, what I want you to do is take that money from the proceeds of that policy, let's pay the lender off the money we've borrowed to buy the insurance policy to protect your estate, to protect you and your partners at buy-sell agreements. So all these concepts can maybe work together, right? But now we have a property we just sold. So let's pay this bank back. Now, guess what? Instead of the money I was going to take out of the policy, Matt, to pay the bank back in the future, now it's still in the policy. And guess what? Mac, do you want to borrow from yourself and pay yourself back interest to buy your next real estate property?
My financed policy that I used other people's money to fund initially,
Right.
that I used the sale of a piece of real estate to pay the bank back, now becomes my new bank.
And what I'll do then is we still have a tax liability because of there's going to be a gain because that's what we would avoid it on the 1031
It's not a true
exchange.
1031 exchange. Yeah.
But I'll take the money out of the policy to pay the bank back. So I'm only taking 20% of what I needed or 23, whatever the number is for capital gain, paying the government.
Yep.
But all that money is still left in the policy. Now I have clients that will buy their next properties.
Yeah.
And guess what? They don't have to go through an underwriting process to see how good they are.
Nope.
And every lender is, when you don't need money, you're really good.
Right.
When you need money, you're not very good, right? I mean, so the point is, now I'm in control of that. So if I say, hey, Matt, can you get me $1 million out of my policy to buy this property? And you say, yeah, can I get it to you in like 7 to 10 days? Is that okay? Now they know, that now they become their own bank.
Yep.
And it's a super cool concept. And it works well for people, that are in real estate. And oh, by the way, Matt, with the real estate, because the bank that's financing the insurance policy it's a recourse loan, so fully 100% secured. When they're borrowing that money from to buy that policy, that's not showing up on their credit report as an outstanding asset.
Right.
Now they have to put it on their financial statements, right? But it's not showing up as debt because my guys, this is the real estate guys, their net worth and everything is based on how much money they can borrow, right? So I'm not offsetting that by what I'm doing for them to help them.
Right. So that you're not offsetting their net worth. You're not offsetting their borrowing power.
Right.
And at the end of the day, they basically get to replace the bank with their own financed policy. And when they do tap into that policy, maybe for a future real estate deal, it's also an unstructured loan.
Right.
There's no set payment schedule on those loans.
Right.
They can let the loan just kind of roll up. They can decide to pay it back. They have total flexibility.
Yeah, and I think the best thing is if they set up their own amortization schedule and pay themselves back.
Yep.
Because if they do it that way, then because the main goal is like they still have to unwind all their holdings at some point in time, right? But this is going to provide them tax-free retirement income on the back end, and we want to make sure that is so they're used to the payments already. Pay themselves back.
Yep.
So let's not try to change it because then sometimes when there's no rules, then it gets a little crazy.
I love it.
Yeah.
So give me an example of how this has actually worked.
So I've worked with some. The one example I thought was the neatest that we did was that we had some partners that had a real estate development. And the interesting thing was the real estate development was in an opportunity zone.
Okay.
So
Major tax opportunity.
Yeah. So already the structure of the property, if they held it over 10 years, everything was going to be tax free
Okay.
on the property. So on top of that, we had this big real estate project that we were doing, and there was 4 guys. So we had an earlier video where we talked about buy-sell planning.
Yep.
So we structured this plan, as a buy-sell for these 4 partners, So there was big loans from the bank that was financing the insurance policy. But the critical thing is that when you have an idea of what a property is going to sell for in the future, right? You want to make sure that when you're structuring the buy-sell that it's big enough to have a place where if I sell this property, I can pay the bank back, right? So there's
You need somewhere for those funds to go.
right,
Yep.
and I knew that it wasn't going to be going in the market, right? And I don't think that investing in the market's a bad thing. I'm just talking about the.
But for a real estate investor,
they don't understand it, right? But they understand real estate, right? So. The policy, can't lose money because a lender, would never lend us money that they could lose, right? So that was, so if they had this policy that can't lose money, it gives them more comfort than being invested in the market. So we had the 4 partners covered, we let it grow. And then when they sold this property, then we paid the bank back and stuff we talked about. Now they had tax-free money on top of a tax-free asset. So what we did, though, was not necessarily sell the opportunity zone property,
okay.
but we sold the different properties that they already had to pay this. Now I got tax-free inside the policy, tax-free opportunity zone, And it just was life-changing, the amount of money these guys had the ability to really control just through having some conversations and saying, and really our approach, Matt, has always been like, let's give smart people different options and let them decide on what's best for them.
Absolutely. Love that. That's the whole focus of really everything that we do here. I mean, we say all the time, our goal is to arm people with enough information and education to get them to a point where they feel comfortable making a decision one way or another. And I truly believe that, if a lot of these real estate people who have been, very successful in real estate, if they're armed with enough information and they, like you say, they understand leverage already, they understand the risk of that leverage.
Right.
And if you can show them a vehicle that it's not going to behave the way the market does, they're not going to see their gains washed away overnight because the market dips 20%. And at the same time, it has the same, if not better, tax treatment than the real estate that they already love. There's no reason a lot of these, really successful real estate entrepreneurs can't and shouldn't do both of these things in tandem.
Right, because I think the main thing with real estate, I mean, they say the successful real estate people, it's location, and a lot of them are getting a property that they feel is undervalued.
Yep.
Think of the insurance policy the same way as that, by having a bank pay for it, we're buying an asset undervalued because we're only paying like 25 cents on the dollar to buy this huge asset, right?
Yep.
But the nice thing about it, Matt, is if we structure it right and let this thing grow, then it's going to provide this tax-free income where a real estate property can grow, but the income that it produces is always going to be taxable.
Yep.
So let's have a mix of both.
Yeah. Got to keep the depreciation train going.
Yeah.
And the second you want to start winding down, all of a sudden, that depreciation goes away and now everything is going to be taxable.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
If you'd like to see the example that Dan just talked about, the opportunity zone financed policy in combination with real estate, you can go to our website. You can find it there. You can also just check the link in the description. We'll have that available for you so that you can see exactly how this structure might work. But keep in mind, this is not a cookie cutter program. The example that you're going to be seeing there is not going to be the same situation that you're going to find in your local area. And so if you do have something that you'd like to discuss, please reach out to us. We can put together a lot of these proposals for you, and we can see if something will make sense for you and your finances and the situation that you find yourself in. And of course, we're here to answer the hardest questions that you may have. The harder, the better. This isn't for everyone. We've said repeatedly, Dan, that this is, top 2% of the people that are out there would qualify for this, which means, if you're going to talk to your CPA or your attorney, there's a chance that they don't even know that this strategy exists.
Right, and that's why we're trying to just give people, tools that are available to them that might not be available to everyone, right? I mean, and that doesn't mean it's bad, but it also doesn't mean it's good, right? I mean, the point is that we have to show, and if it makes sense, and that's what I love about this business is that we, are talking with people who have been super successful in whatever they're doing, right? If there's ways we can enhance that through strategies, then these people are not going to be sold anything. Nope. But they love to buy stuff.
That's right.
And if it makes sense to them, then that's going to make sense to them.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So that's what it's really fun. To do. So
if you'd like to check out that example, again, you can see it in the description below. If you have questions, throw it in the chat below or send us a comment or an email. We'd love to answer any questions that you may have on this subject as it pertains to real estate and financed life insurance policies. Thanks, Dan, for hanging out with us.
Appreciate it.
Until next time, guys, we'll see you later.